Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. Hope you guys are all having a fantastic day. Today's upload is going to be about the pattern change that will be occurring for the next couple of days. That's when it will be changing and the event will be happening. However, the results of it will be there with us for the next several weeks, and the cooler temperatures, which you see are now confined to the northern parts of the United States, they're actually going to be shifting down to the south. So if you like these type of videos, if you like these type of updates, if you like these type of forecasts, consider subscribing to this channel, consider liking this video. If you're an old returning member, but not an old returning viewer, but not a member yet, then consider subscribing. Just reminding you, if you want to, you can. If you're a new viewer, but you haven't, if this is your first video, then you can check out my channel and then decide for yourself. So right now we are seeing a big low right here centered across, it's basically smack dab in the middle of the country. Front is right here behind it, and something kind of like this is the warm front, but this storm will be shifting itself to the north, and and the low will end up somewhere right here, and the cold air right behind it. So you'll see what I mean by that in just a minute. Let's shift these, and this is actually what you're looking at right now. What this is the temperature anomalies. I always use the tropical tidbits for this, but I decided to use pivotal weather today because it actually shows you the numbers and how below average it is in some locations. So above or below average, you can see in Colorado, South Dakota, Nebraska, Wyoming, it's almost 30 degrees below average, and then here in the reds, it's almost 30 degrees above average. I mean, look at those right there in southern Canada. That is extremely too warm air masses. And actually, among these air masses, as you see, here's a high pressure on this air mass, which is just rotating clockwise and is sending its wind something like this in this wind speed, in this wind span. On this side, we have a low pressure that is spinning counterclockwise, and its winds are going like this. So you can see that we're getting this this large area of basically strong winds that are kind of going in through here, and this is the perfect area for these systems to ride up and along. And actually the low is not over there. I don't know why I drew that. It's just a cold air mass. And you can see that right here, the storm is right up this and right up these contrast areas. And actually behind them, they could utilize these cold air masses and bring them behind them, kind of drag them behind them. So let's go through this. You can see very, very contrasting air masses. In fact, this is just a gorgeous example right here. This is a beautiful example of a warm front and a cold front. You can see here, right there is a storm system. You can see it moved up from there over the next, this is over the next 24 hours. And here's the cold front, and here is the warm front, and it is a huge area of precipitation right along here, and even some snow in these areas right there. So very interesting, very cool, and this is just a beautiful example of a fall storm that is very strong and bringing much cooler. So you can see much cooler temperatures behind us. Actually, during the nights, the warm air mass starts to break down. I mean, you can see parts of the Northeast will be much above average, but then that cold air mass just eventually, after that storm pushes through, you can see those same areas that were 20 degrees above average are now up to 20 degrees below average. So very, very, I mean, it could go from about 80 degrees, at least here in Chicago, to almost freezing during the nights, almost frost. So very drastic changes of temperatures, and many people don't like those type of temperatures. However, unfortunately, with these big systems, we see these huge temperature swings because, again, one side of it is brought up by the Gulf Pacific moisture air, and then on the back side of it is just a very, very cold air from Canada, and those, once it overrides the cold air, comes where that warm air was once, that could be a huge drastic change. So you can see that first push of cold air lasts through about Saturday, Sunday, and you can see it's moderating, slightly below average, but nothing like it was. But then we have another cold air mass coming from the north, which will be even stronger reinforced, and you can see that it won't be really brought by a strong system. It's just that that first system that came through almost got the things going, and it's kind of got the air masses moving. So with that first system passing through and going by, it brought that first air system, and with that first one moving by, the rest kind of got unleashed, and you can see another one came by, bringing another cold shot of air, and you can see that actually remains, just smaller, cooler shots of air, and the northwest and west actually warm up while the southeastern, eastern United States stay cool. And that's what I think we could have a lot of the pattern this winter being like, the northwest being above average, and now the southeast being below average. So you could see there are obviously going to be some moderations. Like right now, you can see the warm air is pushing in. This is around Friday, the 19th. In October, around midday, and you can see the warm air does push in a little bit, but doesn't last for too long, and then we have another air mass pushing through that cools things off. But it will definitely be, again, a contrasting pattern of warm and cool things. But this is so far out that things change. I ought to be confident. Okay, sorry, I'll be the most confident next 200 hours, where it's going to be below average for much of the eastern United States starting right around this weekend. So very, very, very cool thing that we could keep watching, keep an eye on for. And this pattern change will actually, this cold weather will actually bring quite a bit of frost and first snow to many of these areas in the Northeast. So now let's quickly go to the 6 to 10 day outlook. You could see that this is the temperature probability, right there, temperature probability, and in that darkest blue, it's 60% of being below average. That's that's the CPC Climate Prediction Center's confidence in it being below average, which is fairly confident. And for those areas, you can see as it gets lighter, there's less confidence. But I would say that these areas have a fairly good chance of being below average. And then the precipitation probability, you can see things definitely dry out. It is below average for much of the actually northwestern part of the United States, kind of what an El Nino would bring. So we could start seeing some of those El Nino characteristics setting up. We could also see that the just the south and parts of the southeast are a little bit above average. That's due to some tropical enhancement activity that's going on. It's actually being fairly active still in the tropics, even though it's fairly late already in the season. And let's go now to the 8 to 14 day outlook. You can see that what I was talking about, this cold kind of shifts to the more to the south, and the northwestern part of the United States warms up. And if we were to actually highlight this, this part of the United States would be above average, and I would say this part of the United States is below average. I would even include the whole state of Florida on below average, because I think down there it could definitely still get below average. So this is that, and the precip again remains below average for much of the United States, excluding parts of the south and the southern United States. So this is again kind of typical of an El Nino, even though the El Nino hasn't developed yet. Maybe giving us some signs and signals that an El Nino may be developing. So now I'd quickly like to go to the GFS and show you the total snowfall for the next 240 hours. You can see some snow possibly in Maine, Vermont, New Hampshire, New York, and we could also see some snow in Colorado. We could actually have a big storm right there in the mountains. We have also a fairly large storm up in Minnesota occurring in the next couple of days. So let's go to MSLP and precip for the next several weeks. And you can see we have this big system that I was talking about. This low starts developing, typical mushroom-shaped system where there's cold and snow in the back, and then it's just a warm right on the eastern side. And then we have the hurricane, Hurricane Michael, at the bottom side of it, kind of with that low system bringing itself up. So those two are going to kind of merge. You can see bringing quite a bit of heavy rain into parts of the Carolinas and Virginias, which they definitely don't need. They have been experiencing way too much rain already. So you can see this is where the snow is going to be falling, a couple of inches, maybe 5-6 inches. And then we definitely, like marked by that 6 to 10 and 8 to 14 day outlook, we definitely quiet down. This pattern should definitely quiet down. And in fact, we see a couple of clippers try making their way through. We have this system right here, which is essentially the remnants of another tropical storm or hurricane that's going to impact parts of the southwest. And this is the snowstorm I was talking about. We could have some heavy snow in Denver, Colorado, even Kansas, Nebraska, even down parts of Texas. And this eventually kind of merges in with this system, which we could have a snowy side to this, depending on how much cold air there is. There could be some snow in Maine, and then we have another storm system that could bring some scattered showers and snow showers. Then we have another, you can see this is nothing. These storms may seem like they're huge, but they're not going to be massive. They're going to be fairly actually small. It's just that they could be fairly drastic. They could be bringing fairly drastic changes to the United States by bringing frost and potential for snow too many. So let's go back to hour 0 quickly. You could see this is actually during the night, and you could see just a contrast of temperatures, 63 and 40s, 60s, 70s, and 40s in the same state at night. And then during the day, I mean today, guys, I am telling you, it is brutally hot here in Chicago. It may not seem like it, even though it's just 80. It is really hot, and I'm getting sick and tired of it. I'm sure many people across the southeast are. Maybe you're not, but that is good for you, because I mean, at least you were enjoying the past couple of weeks. But if you like the warm and you're in this eastern part of the United States, it's not gonna be warm for long. It's gonna quickly cool off, and if you are waiting for that cool weather, then you haven't been enjoying the past couple of weeks, and you're gonna enjoy the next couple of days. So you can see in those blues, that is the frost and freezes. You can see covering a huge area of real estate, pushing down all the way as far as south as Kansas, Missouri, and you can see even some plotches West Virginia, Indiana, Kentucky. So this is definitely going to be pushing down slowly but surely, and we're going to definitely start seeing these colder temperatures dominate over the United States, especially for the eastern part of the United States. So that is basically it for today's video. Just wanted to give you a quick update. Hopefully you enjoyed. Hopefully you learned something new. Consider subscribing, and I'll see you guys all in the next episode.